Hey up! Right, today I'm going to be showing you how to fit the YOSHIMURA GP Magnum Cyclone silencer on the Honda GB350. For me personally, and I think it's got a lot to do with my youth, this is the most exciting product that I've fitted to my bike and reviewed in several years. I mean, you know, going back to when I was 18, 19, the YOSHIMURA was the want of every motorcyclist. We all had Japanese bikes then, and the YOSHIMURA was the ultimate, slip-on can for any Japanese motorcycle. It is the grandfather of every performance motorcycle exhaust that's come after it. Companies like Akrapovic, they all copied YOSHIMURA's design to try and sort of steal a bit of that YOSHIMURA magic, but I don't think any of them ever really achieved it. YOSHIMURA are the highest quality pipes I've ever got my hands on. Now, I should point out that these pipes are not cheap. It's one of the most expensive pipes I've ever purchased, and I did purchase it full price with my own money. But I was happy to do that, not just to make this video, but to actually possess one, because they are a legendary item in motorcycling. Pop Yoshimura, as he was known, was a member of the Honda racing team back in the 1960s. I think he might have actually started back in the 50s. And since then, he went on to work with every major Japanese motorcycle manufacturer to produce high performance, high quality exhausts. This particular exhaust is the Cyclone version. The Cyclone, I think, was brought in the early 1980s, a street legal for Japan version that was a little bit less antisocial than the all-out race cans. And although these are street legal in Japan, who have some of the strictest emissions regulations in the world, strictly speaking, they're not legal here in the UK, if you care about that sort of thing. Now, I know to a lot of eyes this YOSHIMURA exhaust will look like a very modern motorcycle exhaust. In fact, YOSHIMURA have drawn from one of their back catalogue designs from the early 1980s, which fits in with the GB350 perfectly. The years have rolled on, and the word vintage can no longer be solely ascribed to motorcycles from the 1950s and the 1960s. Now, this is the most sought after polished stainless steel version. There is a black version, and I believe there's also, I'm not sure whether it's titanium or carbon fibre version. That's the most expensive of the lot. As I say, the stainless version is the most popular version, partly I think because of the price, but also because it caters for most tastes. What I will say, however, is if you want one of these, you might find you're searching for quite a while before you can get your hands on them. The UK importer doesn't import many because they don't think they're going to be very popular, yet they told me that they sell out as soon as they come back into stock, so maybe they need to adjust their thinking a little bit and make sure that they've got more of these available. What I'm saying is you will find most retailers are out of stock, so it might take a little bit of patience and waiting before you can actually get your hands on one. I actually managed to snag this one about 2 months ago, and from what I could gather at the time, it was the last one available in the country until they got a new consignment in middle of July. Now, YOSHIMURA state that this kit comes with everything that you need to transfer it onto your GB350s. Now, the GB350s, like many of the Triumphs and some other brands, use the graphite type exhaust seals, and my experience of these is they can be a little bit delicate, and often you find they come off in pieces when you remove the old can. So I did buy one in case I needed it. As it turned out, I didn't need it. The way Honda have arranged it on this particular bike, it doesn't get stuck in the silencer, which is when you tend to have the problems trying to retrieve it. It stayed on the end of the downpipe just after the catalytic converter. So it was 100% reusable. Now, the first thing that you need to do is remove the cover that goes over the catalytic converter. I should add, Yoshimura do provide very detailed instructions for the fitting of this exhaust. Unfortunately, it's in Japanese, and my Japanese is a bit rusty. Well, I don't know any Japanese whatsoever. You can use the Google Translator, where if you go into your Google search engine, press the icon on the right, and take a photograph of the the instructions that you're reading. It will translate any words from Japanese to English. I found that a bit too much messing about, so I just worked it out for myself. As you saw, I removed the screw from the back, and then the plate just slides forward on those two little sliders that you see there. Really easy. I just had to have a look to sort of work out how it came off. You then go ahead and remove the chrome cover that actually hides the join between the catalytic converter and the silencer, which just slides off in a very similar manner, very easy really. This reveals the black Jubilee clip that connects the silencer onto the downpipe catalytic converter assembly. Simply unscrew that. You don't have to remove the bolt all the way, just loosen it off enough so that you can take all the clamping pressure off the actual silencer end, and you can move the collar around easily. You can then turn your attention to the rearward bolt that actually holds the silencer onto the bike, which is just behind the pillion foot peg. Now, it's a conventional hexagonal nut on the back of this, so be careful you don't drop it and lose it. Remove the bolt and withdraw it, but be aware that your silencer might drop slightly when you do withdraw it. And once you've done that, you should be able to gently sort of wiggle your silencer free, ready for your new one to go on. Now, you will need to reuse the nut that you remove from this assembly, but you will not be reusing the washer or the bolt itself. As with most exhausts, it does take a little bit of jiggling with a backwards motion to free it up from the header pipe. Just be careful not to scratch any paintwork on the bike with lugs that are sticking out, etc. Be patient, take your time, it will come off relatively easy. I always found it's best not to force or rush this sort of thing, you know. Just be gentle with it. A bit of persuasion rather than brute force is all that's required to withdraw it from the pipe, and you're ready to go. The Yoshimura kit comes with an angled stainless steel connector piece that slides onto your header pipe. You need a bit of experimentation to get the orientation right for that. I sorted it out in the end, but it's not quite right here. The other thing you need to turn your attention to is the little lug on the Jubilee clip. Now, this is the only bit that I translated. You just need to bend that out very slightly. I think the reason for this is the stainless steel connector piece is made of a thinner gauge metal than the original, so it needs to be opened up or bent up a little bit so that it fits easily into one of those grooves without scraping into your graphite seal. You can then mount your Jubilee clip onto your connector piece and then insert the connector piece onto the graphite seal on the downpipe. Right, I made a bit of a rod for my own back really with this job. I put the bike on its side stand to get it at an angle so that I could get better camera views of what was going on. So when it came to me orienting the position of the exhaust, first time round I messed it up a little bit and didn't get it quite right. The exhaust comes with a polished stainless steel mounting collar, and on the inside of that mounting collar there is a rubber seal which I think is there to stop the collar from marring the actual exhaust, especially when you're fitting it. Now, this rubber seal has cutouts on it which are designed to imitate or fit in with the cutouts on the actual collar. The thing is, this rubber seal is not fixed in place, so it does have a tendency to move around as you're tightening things up, and the rubber seal becomes visible in those oval slits that are on the mounting collar itself. So you need to make sure that that stays in check while you're fitting everything. You'll probably find you're going to have to sort of loosen everything off and readjust it several times. Using the long stainless steel Allen bolt that comes with the kit, you put the washer onto the Allen bolt, you put the Allen bolt through the eyelets on the collar, then there is a spacer, an aluminium spacer, that goes behind those before you connect them up to the mounting point on the bike. That gives you the right clearances for the foot peg, etc. Then of course you reuse the original nut that was originally attached to the bike to fasten everything up. As I say, this rubber gasket thing is a bit of a pain in the ass. And also, as you can see, I've got the exhaust in completely the wrong orientation here. When you try to straighten the exhaust up, what tends to happen is that rubber gasket slides about within the collar and ends up in the wrong orientation. So it's a bit of patience testing, sort of juggling to get everything lined up correctly. It's a little bit frustrating, but I don't think it took me much more than about 10 minutes to get everything lined up the way it should be. What you've got to make sure, of course, is that connector piece, which has two hooks on it, are lined up with the stainless steel hooks at the front of your exhaust pipe, because of course Yoshimura is famous for the way that the gas tight seal is held together with springs. And this kit does of course come with a spring pulling tool, which is the one that you saw me there using to coax that confounded gasket into place. Now there are two of these compression springs, one at each side, and they're really easy to fit. Using your tool, hook one of the hooks on the compression spring onto the hook on the connector piece, and then insert your tool onto the hook at the other end of the spring and just put some tension on it until you can drop it over the other eyelet on the main exhaust piece. It's really quite easy. You can then go ahead and tighten up the fasteners that hold the exhaust in place, the clamp at the front and the bracket just near the pillion foot peg. Right, you're almost there now. You just have to replace that cover that goes over the catalytic converter. You won't be replacing the cover that goes over the joint between the two parts. That's my only sort of negative point with this kit, really. There should have been a trim piece that came with it. Yoshimura do make one, but the problem with it is it's made of carbon fibre, which I'm not a great fan of on bikes like this. And it's £125, which is an awful lot of money. I'd rather have paid an extra £50 and had a stainless steel polished one in the kit, but there you go. I'll never say never. I might fit one in the future. We'll see how it goes. Because the transition between the two connectors here is, I've got to say, it's ugly. Yeah, I'm going to have to do something about that. Now, I'm not going to be doing a full review of this exhaust in this video because I've already spent enough time on this, and I spent an awful lot of money out of it, so I need to get my money's worth by making two videos. Yoshimura say that this pipe does noticeably increase both horsepower and torque. I'm not going to tell you whether it does or not because I've already ridden the bike, but I'll be giving you my thoughts on that, and we'll do a few flybys, see what you think about the sound from it. Now, back right at the beginning of the 1980s, Yoshimura exhausts, they were legends, there's no doubt about it. It was something that everyone lusted after for their bike, and I've got to say, you know, they don't disappoint. I've never fitted such a high quality piece of exhaust engineering in my life. It is a work of art. As a young man, you know, these were a piece of kit that we all aspired to, but instead, you know, we couldn't afford them, so instead we had to buy, you know, whatever copies were available at a substantially reduced price. It's really nice for me to finally be able to get my hands on the genuine article. And one of the plus points, you know, when I first started looking at this exhaust, I was sort of interested as to whether it sat a little bit lower than the original exhaust. And it does. It affords a lot more room between the luggage and the exhaust, which is a big bonus for me. It solved several problems all in one go. Now, what I'll do is I'll leave a link to the main UK importers for these pipes. I didn't buy mine from them. I bought it from Honda Direct, which is another company, because they were out of stock at the time. I don't have any affiliation with this company. I will just supply you with that link as a point of reference. I recommend you do a bit of shopping around from there. A, because of possible availability, and B, because prices do vary a little bit from one place to another, and you know, you might save a little bit of cash if you take the trouble to shop around. Now, I'm going to let the video play out with the very first startup with this exhaust fitted and the sort of idling sound from the exhaust. What I would like to do is thank you once again for taking the time to watch this and my other videos, and in doing so helping to support this channel. I really do appreciate it. You can also help out by leaving a like on this video and subscribing to the channel if you're not already a subscriber. There are other ways you can help out via PayPal donations, or you can sign up to my Patreon page. Details of that are in the video description down below, or you can just use the super thanks button. I am of course going to be back next week with a full review of this exhaust, so until then, please ride safely and I'll see you soon.